like to call to order the meeting of the Cicero Parks Board at 5 o'clock. If we can get our attendance, please.
Dan Strong.
Present.
Mary Devlin.
Present.
Clayton Bell.
Present.
Susan Sparks.
Present.
Amy Wolf.
All right, we do have a quorum. I would like to seek a motion for the approval of our agenda tonight.
I so move.
A second.
Our agenda is approved. If everybody's had a chance to review our past meetings, meeting minutes, I would like to seek a motion on approval of the prior minutes.
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay. Moving on to old business, gas tank update and pump replacement.
The only thing I have at this point is we are still on track, waiting, the tank is ordered, and no reason to think any different. As far as I know right now, we're still on track to replace it late fall or over the winter. The goal was to have it done and completed, ready to go next spring.
Very good. Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, moving on to pickleball lights.
So for the last couple of months, I was beginning to think that that was a dead topic and not going to go anywhere because I was not getting any follow-up information on that. But just this week, I spoke to a gentleman from Gaylor Electric and the local pickleball group, and they assured me that they're still working on the details and the funding mechanism of it. We talked very generally and vaguely about some of the cost, and he's assured me I'll have more information by the end of the week. So I was hoping to have it for tonight's meeting, but I do not have that as of today.
Okay. Moving on to the July 4th festival.
You missed the farmer's market.
Oh, my apologies. Moving on to the farmer's market update.
So I think that's been going well. We've been trying to make some changes. 2 weekends ago we had, I think, 12 of what we call kid vendors there. I think it was well attended, well received. Next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday, we're having the fire department and the police department there, possibly somebody from the sheriff's department to do basically a touch a truck or a public safety day, trying to promote that and get just whatever we can do to get more people to the park, to the festival. We are working on, we're getting more produce vendors the last couple of weeks. Hopefully that trend will continue. Seems like produce in central Indiana is finally coming around. I think things are still going well. I think it's going to take a couple of years to build it and keep it going in the right direction, but we're going to try on different weekends to do specialty things. They're planning on the karate club one Saturday, or a couple of the music company here in town is going to try to do a couple of Saturdays where they come in and play music, or different kids play different things. So whatever we can do to try to draw people to the parks and create a morning out of it.
Very good. Now moving on to the July 4th festival.
Quite frankly, I don't know why that's on there, other than the fact that, well, I do. We haven't met since, we did meet.
Yeah, we
did.
So, oh, I was gonna give the numbers, and I apologize. I have a whole bunch of numbers on how many people attended the 4th and the festival, and I didn't bring that with me, and now it's been 3 weeks since I talked about it, so I can't remember what the numbers were. But Dan, do you know enough to touch base on it?
I was thinking like 21,000 people were in the park, or am I thinking for the 1 month?
21,000 people. I think if you'll give me a few minutes, I'll pull up the email.
Okay. The fence project.
We've completed the fence along Stringtown Pike there by the ball fields. We've also made a couple other tweaks and adjustments. I'll just expand and put this into that. While we were doing it, we expanded the parking area on the east side of the new dog park to allow us about 8 more parking spots. We have seen a tremendous influx of additional parking on our side this summer with the dog park and the extra draw of people that it has brought, and pickleball is as strong and as live and well as it's ever been, so we've created more parking. We spent quite a bit of money doing that. We had to get 5 loads of stone, and we had to do a lot of things. We had to haul out 5 or 6 loads at $60 a piece. So I'm going to tell you, we spent $3,000 or $4,000 doing that, but we did all the work ourselves, and anything we can to save the money, we've done it. And I think it created some nice additional parking that was well needed.
Nice. Very good. Moving on to new business, 2026 dock rental process and rates.
Sarah, would you touch on that while I look up this?
So typically, the dock rental process, what we do is around December of every year, we send out an email to all the current dock renters with the contract and the new pricing for resident, non-resident, and typically they have until April 1st to have everything paid, insurance turned in, and contracts turned in. Right now, we allow them to pay a deposit if they don't feel like they can pay everything at once. They can pay a $300 deposit that's due, I think it's like normally February time frame. What's happening with that is that it's causing a lot of delay with people. They're waiting until the last moment. They're saying, oh, well, it's postmarked, February 1st, so just because you don't have it, whatever. So we're trying to come up with a way to kind of make that process run smoother. Because right now we're really like doubling up all of our paperwork because people are turning in deposits, so we're giving them receipts, and I'm turning in that money to the utilities office, so then they have paperwork for a dock already. And then if somebody moves docks, well, now I have that on my end. The utilities office doesn't have the information. They're like, well, why has 2 people paid for dock 13? Well, they haven't. They've moved. So it's becoming this really big, like, it doesn't need to be this kind of long, drawn-out process. So for this next year, what we're thinking about doing is I'll be on maternity leave from January to March. So we're thinking take away the deposits and kind of just say it all has to be paid in full before April 1st, whatever the date, and not give them this 4 months of leniency that's drawing everything out. And I feel like people are kind of taking advantage of the process.
Well, I definitely see making a change. I think my only concern would be with that is what you sort of touched on a minute ago. If you don't get a deposit and you give them till April the 1st, do you run the risk then you're getting close to boating season, and then you may have a group that sort of told you they want to do it and then they don't come in and don't want them, and then you get stuck with trying to fill some slots at the last.
I have a suggestion for that. If you think that, or if someone actually does not rent a dock because they're given that much time and a lump sum payment when it's due, just prior to it being totally due, maybe they're out of the picture, and maybe you want to consider a rental agreement just to rent it on a daily basis. And so who's ever occupying the little building there by the gas pumps would be responsible for that. And if a dock is vacant and it's available, say we can advertise daily rentals on the website. and you might be able to collect a lot more money on empty docks than you really think. And just the thought, I'm throwing it out there for what it's worth. And I might be a little paperwork nightmare, but maybe not really. You know, daily rental, you get their name, their address. They have to provide you with some kind of insurance, I would think, which they probably carry on their boat anyway, if they're good boaters. But just think about it. And I mean, how many are going to be? Because really, there's not an overabundance of docks available on our little lake, but just something to think about. Food for thought.
What's our wait list look like for a dock?
We're at 286 people.
See?
So I guess, and I'm one voice in this, I like this plan. I think if somebody was to back out,
Oh, yeah.
we
You call
just
the next
have the
person on the
ecstatic
list.
next person
Oh,
to
yeah.
step
Sorry.
in and take the spot.
Mhm.
That's just my opinion, but I see the concern. I see where if everybody in Cicero had a dock, and the filling them was a concern. But in the 8 years I've lived here, all I've ever heard about is the wait list to get a dock and how long certain people have been
Yeah.
on it. So I kind of like the April idea because I don't think we have a fear of not filling the docks, personally.
And I think,
I agree. If there is such a wait list, then people are gonna pay the ones that want it.
and I think the only reason I brought that up was that you've told me how many people sometimes you have to call to fill a slip sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason I threw that out, Certainly not opposed to doing that. I was thinking that you were gonna propose maybe trying to get the deposit earlier, like January 1st or something, to lock that in, but, if you don't mind making all the calls and all that, I mean, I know that's what you're dealing with currently, but I know sometimes you have to call a lot of people when the slot opens up to get them to fill it, even though you do have 256 people or whatever it is on a wait list, so.
I would be willing to volunteer to call some of those people on the wait list to see if they're still interested and validate the list. Just let you know. I have nothing but time on my hands, every day. Well, not every day, but most days. I have some time I could devote to that.
So,
And it would be a free service, oh, by the way.
right, there's so many comments, I kinda wanna comment on each one, but I'm kind of really getting sidetracked. But in response to the concept of renting on a daily basis, the individual docks that might be available, we typically in the spring, we rent out everything that's available and we
Yeah.
sign a contract with those people. So I'm afraid we get a little concerned that maybe we put somebody in a dock for a day and then somebody else comes in that has rented the slip for the whole season, and then we can't do that if they bring their boat in. So I have some concerns about that. The other concern I have is, generally speaking, we have high school age kids down there working the marina, and we don't have them there when the weather's bad, or when it's rainy and nasty and not likely to have any boats. So years ago, the marina was open 7 days a week, 8, 10 hours a day, and we've got away from that because that was back when to sell gas, you had to have somebody there and they had to take the money. But now, through the years, things have evolved and most of our gas sales is by credit card. So all our people are doing is assisting people and helping them get their boats tied up and helping them do things
Right.
and then selling refreshments out of the inside, which has done a couple of things. It's really, really cut back on our labor cost to run the marina, which is good. But it's also hurt us in some things in terms of inside sales and other issues. But I do believe the overall way we're doing it today saves us a lot of labor costs because we don't have somebody there all the time. Where before, back in the days of Charlie, you'd have somebody there 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there'd be hours and hours and hours where nobody would come in. And so it's constantly evolving, constantly changing, but I do have concerns about trying to rent an available one-thing space and having kids trying to manage the money and sign the paperwork and make sure they've got insurance and things like that. And I think the town attorney would probably have some concerns
Gotcha.
about making sure people had insurance but I definitely wanna check into it, and then we're also very openly trying to explore the options to possibly get more docks and get permission to add more docks and things like that, so maybe it's something we can consider in the future.
Could I ask another question too? From year to year, do you eliminate the paperwork from the previous year and start over?
Do we eliminate it?
Eliminate it, like trash it and
No.
start, you don't, oh, you don't?
No, it's filed away, so I mean, you have to redo the paperwork every year,
Okay,
the updated contract, but we don't get rid of it now.
okay, I just wondered,
Yeah.
okay.
So the other thing would be in response to Dan's comment, I believe was about getting the notice out early and things like that. We've tried to be very diligent the last few years since Sarah and I've been doing it and get the notice out to people long before Christmas and establish the rate and everything else. And what we hear from people is, oh, you shouldn't be collecting money now. We don't wanna collect money now. It's Christmas and we don't have the money. And so what we find is a lot of people call and we spend a lot of time dealing with the boat list, but we're not really doing business, as far as, we're not collecting money, we're not assigning docks, we're not doing things like that, until after the first part of the year. And then we see an influx of people that just wanna come in and pay it in full and they're done. You know, like in January. And then after that, it's everything you can think of. It's a mixture of everything. And then there's the group that waits till the last week to pay it. But consequently, Sarah, now I don't spend much time on it, but Sarah spends sometimes 70% of her day dealing with nothing but the boat docks and phone calls and things like that. So our thought process is, and I probably shouldn't say this, but realistically, I feel like if a person has to make a deposit in January or February, and then they have to, because they can't afford to pay it in full, and they come back in March or April to pay it, their balance, it's a personal thing, and it's really none of my business, but I don't feel like that person should be renting a dock in the first place.
If they're having trouble coming up with the deposit,
Yeah.
Sure, sure. And it
so-
also is a form of you getting them to commit,
Yeah,
is the other side of that.
yeah, but we've never had any trouble with commitments. So
Yeah.
I feel like it would just simplify our process, and then we have this core group of people that when we send it out in October or November, they'll come
Boom.
in and try to pay it now,
Done.
which really is, it's not a problem for us,
Yeah,
but it creates a problem at the clerk's office because it's money collected in 2025.
it's going for
It should be in
2026.
2026's budget.
Yeah,
And it's all fixable and it's all understandable, but it just creates a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So our thoughts were, and what we wanted to talk to you about was, number one, we'd like to change it and we'd like to get this body's approval and blessing. I'd like to establish the rate in the next couple of months for next year. And I'd like to be able to, if we agree that we'll eliminate the deposit process, maybe October, we'll send out an email to all of our people that explains the process, explains how we're changing it, explains that we're not gonna accept deposits anymore, we're gonna,
you're just gonna pay in full.
you'll pay in full by a certain date, and then I do feel like if we do it by April 1st or so, I feel like that gives us plenty of time to, now that month will be horrible for Sarah trying to call people and things. But we've also found out, when you call people on the waiting list, if you don't get an answer, sometimes they don't wanna call back. And they
No.
don't call back for 3 or 4 days. So we found it very beneficial to say, excuse me, Mr. Jones, in the message, we need to hear back from you before tomorrow at 4 p.m. Or we'll move on to the next person. And that really motivates people. So
Right.
I think that,
Or your name could be removed from the list, right?
so I just feel like
Yeah.
it would be very beneficial to us and even to the clerk treasurer's office and everybody involved if we try to simplify that process. So if we can think about that, talk about the next meeting. But I
Yep.
would also say, if we do it, we'll try it for a year, and if it doesn't work, we'll come back and maybe try to go back.
Or maybe
to
tweak it some more another way, whatever we find out,
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen this year, the
Right.
way you thought it might turn out,
Right.
then we
And we
always
can-
have a way to tweak it again.
Yeah, we can always go back and
Yeah.
the goal is to always get better.
Good,
Right.
okay.
That's a depressing day for everybody.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with that, hearing, why you want to do it, and, I mean, it makes logical sense, and, if you don't mind doing the extra work, that's certainly, worth doing, but it might limit your calls now that I heard some of the information, because you won't be dealing with everybody probably calling you as much that have given you the deposits, knowing they'll come in and close to April and pay.
Right. And I would just say, we'll send it out in October, we'll send it out in November, and we'll send that same email out as a reminder
Sure.
message numerous times, and I think it should go very well.
Is this a council ordinance policy, or is this something that can be done by you as director to change?
I believe it's something that I can do,
Okay.
without having to go to the council, or even necessarily having to get it approved through this body, but it's been done this way for
Right.
so many years that if somebody does complain about it, I'd like to be able to say, it's not just my choice,
Yeah.
my decision.
Right.
I tried to vet this through the park board too, and we talked about it at great length, and they agree, and so this is why we're doing it that way.
Well, if it makes common sense for the department and it makes common sense for your time involved, I'm all for it.
Okay. So, I think all I have to need is a consensus tonight that it's okay to do that. But I would like to maybe at our September, or at the very latest, our October meeting, try to get a consensus on the boat dock rate and what it should be for next year. What I would like to do is take that information out of our meeting and go to the council and confer with them and see if we can all get on the same page and agree, and then we can move forward.
Can I ask what that rate is this year?
Yeah, the resident rate was 1,800, non-resident 2,550. And we've talked about, I know last year we kind of talked about it, getting rid of such a large gap between the resident and non-resident rates, so. You want to take that into consideration when thinking about pricing?
Very good. Moving on, field usage.
Okay. As you all know, every year, the town of Cicero signs a contract with the HHASA for the usage of the ball fields. We also sign a contract with a lady, her name's Marlene Gregory, and she has a company, a nonprofit organization that I can't quite think of it right this minute.
Premier Youth.
Premier Youth, yes. We sign a contract for them for a percentage of the concessions. And that's been working well. It's something we try to tweak every year, and I feel like right now we got a really good relationship with the HHASA and Premier Youth. But we're striving to get better every year and things like that. Part of that contract with I'm going to call them directly, HHASA, is they do all the scheduling, they do all the game day preparation stuff, they line the fields, all that. The park's role throughout this last 4 years has been to do what I call field maintenance in terms of mowing and weed eating and painting and keeping the facilities up. If a toilet's not working or there's a plumbing problem, that's our role. But they take care of getting a field ready for the games. They, for the most part, take care of emptying the trash cans and the various receptacles and keeping the toilet paper dispensers filled and all those issues. But that's been working very well. But one of the things they also do is they do all their own scheduling. I don't do any scheduling for any ball fields, practices, games. It's just too overwhelming for me to try to absorb that too. So periodically, we have teams that come in from other towns and other entities that are looking for a place to practice or have a game because their fields are overscheduled or they can't get practices in. Even people from Westfield, believe it or not, with all the ball fields they have over there, are struggling to get ball fields to have practices on because there's too many games. And so I got a phone call at 2 o'clock this afternoon from a lady that wants to schedule the ball fields twice a week from now through October, and she's willing to pay a pittance to use the fields, which I encourage. And these happen randomly and quite often throughout the summer. I always refer these people back to the president of the HHASA, and she tells them how much, if it's okay for them to play, if it's okay, and how much they should pay based on how many times they're going to utilize the facility and things like that. And she lays out the expectations to those people. You're expected to rake the fields when you're done. You're expected to make sure the bathrooms are locked. She takes care of all that, and that keeps it much simpler and cleaner for me. I can't imagine me trying to schedule in the middle of all their stuff, and it just makes it easier, and it's worked very well. Well, I'm telling you this because we had some problems over the last few weeks and some disgruntled people. We had recently, the HHASA recently had some people inquire to use the fields, and simply put, they told them no because the particular coach that called and wanted to use the fields misled the president of the league on their intentions and how they were going to use it. They wanted to have just a general batting practice and things with a few core group of people, and then they found out that what it was a formalized tryouts for them wanting to create their own team and I don't want to misspeak it, so I'm going to be very general and very vague about it. But they misspoke about how they intended to use it, and it ended up being a formalized tryouts to make the team. So the president of the league told them they couldn't do that anymore, and there were also some issues, and I want to make sure I don't say something improper. This particular coach also had some legal problems over the last few years, and he's been a coach for many, many years, but he had some legal issues recently and can no longer pass the background check that's required of a coach that this league requires from everybody, and it's very common, can no longer pass the background check for the middle school to be able to be a coach as a middle school at a middle school level. So the rec league took the stance in the position that if he can't coach for them, he shouldn't be allowed to coach for them, and this has happened. So they said no. Well, about a week went by, and I got an email along with the president of the rec league saying from a female lady that's associated, and she asked for permission to use the fields and didn't understand why taxpayer paid funded fields are not allowed to be used, and the president of the rec league basically said no, and we've had trouble before with that group with I guess their coaching practices and styles that she had been a coach in years past also, and the board at that time decided not to let her coach any teams this year. So essentially what they're doing is if they don't like the way this is happening, they're trying to go out and start their own team and do their own thing, and there's insurance issues, there's all kinds of problems with it. Additionally, there's also issues with the fact that we have a contract with the HHASA, and then speaking to the town attorney, we can't really go get into multiple contracts that allow somebody to play, and I don't want to be required to make sure they're doing their background checks and that everybody's ethical and doing the right thing. So they told them no, they couldn't use the field, sorry. I concurred and agreed with them by email that sorry, I've got to stick with the rec league and support their decision. My stance on this is you can't use the fields. That turned into a terrible social media post that was lots of negativity and lots of comments. And the rec league president, again, reassured him immediately on that social media post that there's more to this story and there's a lot more information that we don't want to air out here, and there's good reasoning for not allowing this. Please contact either her or me at the Parks Department at any time, and we'll talk. Glad to talk to you more about it in person. And we've never heard another thing. I don't anticipate hearing anything more. It seems to have died out. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention in case I really feel like some of these people may show up at this meeting or at the town council meeting wanting to complain because they can't use the fields. My intent is not to do anything with this other than make you aware that they may go to the town council and complain because they're not being allowed to use the field, but there are honest, very legitimate reasons we're telling them no. It's not that we don't want kids to play on the fields. I want to encourage every kid to play on the field, but it has to be done right, and we got to have the right leadership, and we can't go against certain things. Simply put, I would tell them if they were here right now in filing a complaint that if they wanted to use the field, I welcome it, but you can't coach it. It has to be people that are approved, and we have to make sure you've got insurance for your team and your player and things like that, because we can't be liable, and we also require that from the HHASA. So I just feel like it's important that you people know what has happened, and there was a lot of negativity of it. I think everything's fine now. I think it's dying out. If they do go to the town council and want to speak at the council meeting, I was very happy that they were not there the other night. But I would have to, given the opportunity, ask the council to not hear the complaint and to refer them back to this body for conversation and discussion and explanations. So I'm just trying to give you the backstory and some information in case it comes up again. And if you feel free to stop and see me anytime, and I'll give you even more information. I'm trying to be as brief as I can. Does that make sense? So I hate to ramble, but there's just so much to it.
Makes sense.
Makes total sense to me.
Any comments?
Yes. So the only comment I'd make would be that you have rules and procedures and policies in place that seem to be working. And I know not to, speak of things so much in the past, but in the past we didn't have a lot of these things in place. A lot of them weren't being followed, and we had a lot of issues. And since your tenure has been there as superintendent, you've certainly brought that rec league and the HHSA have come a long way in teamwork and working together and improve things down there, and I would hate to see it revert back to the way it was. And I would welcome the opportunity if someone showed up at the council meeting to support you on, if I'm there, that it should come back to this board for discussion. So.
I believe wholeheartedly they should be referred back to this body for discussion. So, and I just, believe me, I want every kid that ever wants to play baseball or softball to play on this field, and we haven't used it. But we gotta do it the right way. So, any questions?
Very good. Before I forget, to go back to our old business category, were you able to find numbers on the July 4th?
I was.
Okay.
For the community park, the concerts, the carnival, the festivals, which occur July 2nd through the 5th, we had 23,000 people in the park, the city park. And I can email you all this. These are some wonderful numbers. It's just mind-boggling
how were these numbers gathered?
From cell phone data
Lovely.
through the Hamilton County Tourism.
So our phones were paying, they knew you were there? Is that?
They can tell where your cell phone connects to a tower.
Okay.
So your cell phone is constantly communicating with that tower. And that's how they gather all this information. And it's yeah, and depending on how you feel about that, it's truly mind-boggling. Now, for the Lights Over Morris Festival, there is a humongous She gave me a really nice synopsis. Okay. So for the fireworks, the area which includes, I'm going to tell you both sides of the lake. So Boathouse, Alexander's, La Cascada, the Causeway, Red Bridge Park. There's two reports here. We had people represented from 31 different states, all by cell phone data, including Alaska, Alabama, Arkansas, Maryland, Michigan, and there's a whole list. And we know there were people here from all that stuff. We had people from 16 counties within Indiana, which is kind of cool. We had 23,000 visitors for the fireworks. Again, that does not include any children, minors, and people with no cell phones. So that is all on the adult population. So that number could easily top 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. 17% of the population for the fireworks, the attendance was from Cicero. I do think that number's a little low, but when you think about all the people that come from boats and all walks of life, I suppose a certain number of people have work phones that are maybe registered at Indianapolis or Carmel or something like that. So I think there's variables that we need to remember, but just really good information. There's a whole list of it. I've got 7 different attachments here. 44% of the people that attended fireworks were from Hamilton County, and 56% were from outside Hamilton County. So that to me is an incredible number that shows what a draw we have to Cicero for the fireworks. And I'll send it to you all by email if you get a chance. It's just really interesting numbers. But I think the important thing is we have 23,000 plus adults. So I think that means we had well over 30,000 people in attendance. And I also believe that it shows that a lot of people are traveling here from outside of Hamilton County to see the fireworks.
Very good. Moving back down our list, we're on to miscellaneous. The August 23rd Street Fest and Community Park.
We are currently gearing up and preparing for the Street Festival in Community Park this year. That is a festival that was done in years past by the OTC, this Downtown Main Street group, and due to some problems over the last few years, and then also with the downtown construction going on, they made a decision late last year to move it to
Very nice. Any comments, questions? Very good. Moving on to the Labor Day Car Show.
Once again, we're beginning the year up, and we spent a lot of time talking about that last night for the Labor Day Car Show. We made some tweaks, and we, as the Parks Department, probably in the latter half of this month, we'll spend a lot of time in Red Ridge trying to spread a little bit of mulch and make sure things are presentable, and we'll be ready for the Labor Day Car Show, which I will cook that day for the Friends of the Park. And just so you know, we cooked 400 pork chops, 400 bratwurst, 400 hot dogs, and 400 breakfast sausage.
Very good. Does anybody have anything to add to miscellaneous comments, concerns?
The only thing I'll say, certainly appreciate, and I'm sure the rest of park board members probably feel the same way. I'm not trying to speak for them, but for the nice job that you're all doing with the parks. So, and the continuous improvements that we're seeing. So, thank you.
Thank you. If you didn't notice, I'll add, right outside this last 2 weeks, they got the new concrete done and the new entrance, but my staff was able to redo the flower bed and get some new landscaping in there, so that was really a job that needed to be done for quite some time. We just kept waiting because we knew this other project, but they got in there and got that done right away, and also the bench that's outside there by the flagpole, if you didn't notice, or if you did notice coming in, is a bench that is one of 2 that we had done. And that was done and paid for by the Friends of the Park, with using the proceeds from the bourbon tasting event. And those benches are going to go out on the pedestrian causeway and those bump outs where the seating areas are. We're going to take those out there and put them in one of those, since that has been labeled as Veterans Walkway in recent years. So we're going to try to add to that experience, and we'll take those benches out there in the coming weeks and have them sitting out there. The only other thing that I have is Dan and I met with a grant writer this week on Monday, I believe. Spent quite a bit of time with them discussing grants, not only for the parks and grant opportunities for the parks, but grants in general for the whole town that we might be eligible for. And then today I met with a gal from Noblesville that's been writing grants for many, many years. Her name is Amy Shanklin, and she writes grants for parks. She has written grants now for the last 6 or 7 years for the town of Arcadia, from downtown things to their splash park to playground equipment, and she's currently now writing quite a bit of stuff for the city of Tipton. It was a really good conversation, pretty optimistic that I would like to work with her going forward, but Dan doesn't even know this yet. I promised him I'll get with him in the next couple days. I want to meet with Dan and see what that might look like for not just the parks, but for the whole town, if there's opportunities for other grants that the town participates in. And then maybe we can talk about it at our staff meeting with the council next week to see what role she might be able to have for us.
That's great.
And that is all I have.
Very good. Any other comments, concerns, anything to be addressed? Alrighty, with that, our next meeting will be September 4th, 2025, 5 o'clock here at Town Hall, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second that.
And with that, our meeting is adjourned at 5:49 p.m.
Thank you.